Hey everyone, welcome to another sunny reading on the sun of me reading my novel, The PrÆsenti, which is from the Time Chronicle series, book 1. Before I get into this book, I am going to dedicate this reading to my grandparents, specifically today my grandmother, who I used to call Nana. It is coming to over 2 years almost that she passed away, and on this beautiful sunny day, I think the Commons, because she used to come down to the Commons and we used to come in summer and always talk, so this place makes me think of her. I will never forget when she read this book, and even though she wasn't target demographic, let's say, for this book, she used to really praise the book in terms of its description, and yeah, so this is for you, Nana, for Grandad, and for Beatrice on my mum's side. And Beatrice would have never been able to read this. He only spoke Arabic, so right. So yeah, this is for them. Love you so much, Gran and Grandad. I hope you're doing all right. And I'm going to read chapter 2. So put your feet up, enjoy the sunshine with me, and enjoy as I read chapter 2. Chapter 2. The past lies like a nightmare upon the present. Karl Marx. So, just to go off on a tangent, I like to always put a little bit of a quote for each chapter, just to sort of fit in with the theme. Okay, here we go. Chapter 2. Thank you, Mrs., began Mrs. Beatrix, looking at the name tag on the lapel of her cardigan titled Mrs. J. Smith, shaking the receptionist's hand to admire the room. Smith. Thank you, Mrs. Smith. I must say, this place is impressive. The architecture in that driveway kind of leaves one breathless. Oh, and that gong outside, where is it from? Oh, just a prize heirloom from Tibet, answered Mrs. J. Smith casually, as if this was a normal item for the school to own. Here you will find we appreciate history a lot, to a point we'd be institutionalized. Can you explain the archway? Why is it on fire? Rose inquired, to which both women looked surprised. Goodness! Exasperated Mrs. J. Smith, as if this were news. I certainly hope not. Moving to the window to check, Mrs. Beatrix turned to her daughter to ask, Rose, sweetie, what do you mean the archway was on fire? It looks perfectly fine, Mrs. J. Smith remarked, joining at the window. Come, take a look. No, I meant earlier. It would turn back to normal once we passed underneath it. She began to explain, only to trail off, because both women were now giving her a very strange look, as if she had lost her marbles. I know what this is, Mrs. Beatrix commented in realization, taking Rose's hand to reassure with genuine sincerity. You've got to give this place a chance. I know it's daunting. I know it looks intimidating, but just please, one day, give it one day. If you don't like it, I promise we'll look somewhere else. Just please, for me. It hurt a bit to not be believed that she was making it all up just to avoid going to a new school and risk repeating the same scenario as before of being bullied. She knew how much it hurt her mother as much as it did for her. All those years of feeling constrained in chains, like a bird in a cage. Those anxious long school days of walking down the corridors that seemed to never end. Alone, vulnerable. All of those judging eyes on her, laughter amongst whispers, hurled insults at the girl who was not symmetrical enough. But what about those arrows? Rose asked, still unable to let it go. I saw this arrow just appear out of nowhere. Whatever else that Mrs. J. Smith was expecting, it wasn't this. Mama's surprise was briefly exposed in her face, but she was very quick to cover it up. My dear, I've just noticed. Your eyes are quite different from your mother's. She inherited them from her late grandmother on her dad's side, Mrs. Beatrix explained fondly, the only person in her life to cherish them with such nostalgia. Well, very few people in the world have heterochromia. It's a rare condition, noted Mrs. J. Smith. That could explain what you saw earlier. Our library has many books about the subject matter, and in those pearls of wisdom there are some scholars who say that those with such eyes can see the unseen, kind of like magic. Hence another reason for coming to study here at PrÆsenti Tempus. You can learn a lot about yourself. This receptionist is sly, thought Rose. Not only has she avoided answering a question about the archway, but answered it with rubbish. Rose had heterochronic and was more aware of her condition than anyone else, after researching it herself both on the internet and at the public library, as well as asking an optometrist. Her eyes were not special in the sense of visual aid. These arrows were physically there. That archway truly did set alight and change shape. She was not hallucinating, imagining, or making things up. And the fact her mother did not even flinch or sense any of it was a mystery in itself. Nevertheless, it was her first day at this school, so she let it pass and put on a forced smile, as she always put on, to give the impression it wouldn't have been as manic as that. It would have been a gentle forced smile, not a manic smile. Forced smile she always put on to give the impression that she was happy with the answer to that question. Now then, with that over, I'm happy to welcome you to PrÆsenti Tempus. Welcome, Mrs. J. Smith. From here onwards, Rose, you say goodbye to your mother as a student. Visitors are only allowed up to this point, unless they have an appointment with the headmaster. But can't you make an exception? Asked Rose, alarmed by the sudden parting of ways. No, Rose, said Mrs. Beatrix. I need to get to work. That driveway was much longer than I expected, and I'm already late for work. You need to do this by yourself. Remember what I told you earlier. You can do this. I believe in you. She then embraced her and held her tight, as if she would shatter to pieces and never be recovered again. And with that, the hold was broken, and Rose waved farewell to her mother. Follow me, Miss Beatrix, trilled Mrs. J. Smith, rushing ahead through the next colossal doors that led into the centre building. The receptionist moved swiftly, not giving a lot of time for Rose to admire the interior architecture of the building. The opulence distracting her to a point, she almost walked headfirst into a pillar. From what she saw, this building was not new. It was at least a century old. From the murals, the decor, design of the archway to the ancient corridors, all of which increased the awe of mystery already surrounding the name of the enigma that is PrÆsenti Tempus. Even the checkered floor she walked upon gave the impression of stepping onto a giant chessboard. An intimidating and empowering feat, for it felt like she was taking the first steps towards battle. Finally, after many corridors, pillars, paintings, and a slight detour, they had reached the grand door with the title, To Begin. The door was heavy and monstrous in size, heightening the feeling of making it feel tiny, with a wooden engraved knocker in the form of a lion, the knocker being embedded in his mouth. Rose expected the receptionist to lift the knocker and let it go to hit against the door. But instead, she started pulling at it, like she was having a tug of war. Before she knew it, the door began to gain colour. The brown underwent metamorphosis to gold, the head of the lion growing at an alarming rate. It ripped out of the door, its body following after and taking shape. The knocker snapped and began unravelling into a long rope, ending in one part of the rope being in the receptionist's hands and the other side in the lion's mouth. For goodness sake, Leo, the receptionist cried in annoyance, completely unfazed that the door had done the impossible with the fact that right now a lion was right there. I haven't got time for another ridiculous tug of war. I have a new student who hasn't even been given the rebirth ceremony yet. Exposing yourself and your magic will be a shock for her. You know the rules. The lion dropped the evil glare, letting go of the rope out of its mouth and turned its golden eyes to Rose, sending a shiver down her spine. She had enough, turned around to run away, only to find the lion beat her there. "What is your name?" he asked. His voice was low and a slight growl to it that indicated if she tried to escape again, he wouldn't hold back. "Rose, now get out of my way. I'm calling the police," she screamed, saying the first thing that popped into her head to make it back off. The lion laughed. "Seriously? The police? I'd like to see a policeman try to put handcuffs on me." "What's going on out here?" a voice called out from the place where the door was. A tall man of Indian origin with very pale skin stepped out. His eyes were emerald green, encompassing facial features that were perfect as though carved by a professional artist. He wore white robes with the scales symbol on the front. The colour black of the scales contrasted with the white of the robe. On his head he wore a white turban, fashioned in a style Rose had never seen before. Contained in the turban was an opaque crystal that reflected her frightened expression. "Enough of this foolishness at once. Jacqueline, remove yourself this instant. I will escort Miss Beatrix from here. Leo, you will follow me as well." He didn't raise his voice, for it was one that demonstrated a very high authority. Both the receptionist and lion became very still and obeyed immediately. Mrs. J. Smith began making her way back to reception, wishing Rose good luck, leaving both the lion and the man in the turban to lead Rose into the mysterious room without any choice towards the white light. And that was chapter 2. Right, that is one chapter done. I hope you enjoyed it. Tune in for chapter 3, where I will pick another location. And I'm going to read ahead to see how I can sort of up the ante with some of these readings. But yeah, hope you enjoyed it. Have a nice day. If you enjoyed the book series, as always, the website to go to is www.thetimechronicles.com or adamcurry.com, basically in my bio. Right, have a great day. Bye.